Welcome to episode number 286 of the Marine Layer podcast. The Mariners are back at home and victorious. They beat the A's 2 out of 3. We'll talk about Cal Raleigh setting the home run record this weekend with 2 homers on Sunday, and Victor Robles getting activated a little earlier than we thought. Dylan Moore getting DFA'd as well. We'll talk about all of that.
Your guys' reminder, stay on top of everything we're doing. Make sure to download these podcast episodes, rate and review 5 stars. Like we told you guys, if you keep sending in reviews, we'll read some of your reviews right here on the show. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe over on YouTube. You can find everything over at our website. That's marinelayerpod.com. From all our episodes to our merch, Patreon, live show schedules, it's all there. Again, check it out at marinelayerpod.com and then find us across social media at marinelayerpod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. 1-1 from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game at 7-7.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network. Recording on Sunday evening, August 24th. Lyle, man, it is good to be home because I don't have to watch them pitch in Philadelphia and look incompetent. Instead, they look like a real baseball team.
Yeah, they needed that win. Sorry, they needed that series. You could not, in any way, lose a series at home to the A's after the road trip you just had and the Padres coming to town. And you know what? Credit to them. They went out and did it. They took 2 of 3.
I wouldn't say I was nervous about today's game, but I had written down here on my notes. I was like, if they lose, what are we talking about? Legitimately, what are we talking about? There should be storylines from this, but how am I supposed to process losing a series at home to the A's in a must-win game with Logan Gilbert on the mound? Thankfully, we don't have to worry about that. But I was legitimately concerned for a second going into this game before Cal hits his home run in the first inning. I was like, at least on the road trip, you're like, the Phillies are great. It's not like the A's were rolling out a murderer's row pitching staff or were crushing the ball out of the ballpark all weekend.
No, it was going to be a straight bitch fest if they lost that Sunday game to the A's. Because the way they lost on Saturday, luckily we don't have to spend a lot of time on. But man, could we. Why are you bunting? Why are you bunting? Why are you bunting? But we're not going to talk about that in great length because they ended up winning the series. That bunt in the 10th inning was pathetic, and I'll leave it at that.
It was not good. Yep. The call was bad. Robles' attempt to bunt was bad. The fact it was popped up, it was bad. It was bad. But the Mariners won the series. They won the series.
And we got confirmation on Saturday night that was Dan Wilson's call, not Robles doing that on his own, which, why are you bunting? They could have swept. But fine. They won the series, and they needed to win the series.
They won the series. They gained ground. They gained ground on the Astros today. The Yankees and the Red Sox are playing as we're recording right now, so they're going to gain a full game on one of them. The Mariners are up 3 games on the Royals. They'll get their opportunity to handle both the Royals and the Astros down the stretch of the season. Now they just have to worry about the Padres, who are now all of a sudden in first place. First place. I was kind of surprised because the Dodgers handled them last week, but now the Pods have bounced back, and they've, given the Dodgers a little bit of their own business and are back in first place. That's a pretty good team. But the Mariners, in terms, have still set themselves up pretty nicely here with this series this weekend and did really what they should against the A's. The A's are solid. They're playing better, but they're not as good as you are, right?
Of course not. Yet, somehow the Mariners like to make it look a little closer than it really should be or is in real life. Considering when they face the A's and they face these A's lefties, they seem to run into a lot of problems. The A's throw out these soft, hurling lefties with off-speed, and it really seems to stump the Mariners a lot. Before Sunday's game, it felt like they had not really gotten to a starter in Lord knows how long. It was, 10 of 11 starters the Mariners had struggled against when you extrapolate the road trip into the home series against the A's? I mean, Springs got them pretty good on Saturday. They struggled on Friday. They had not really gotten to a starter seriously until Sunday in the finale.
It doesn't make much sense why they struggle against lefties. They have lefties on their roster, yeah, but 4 of your best hitters are all righties, or can be righties in terms of Cal Raleigh. Randy, Julio, Cal, Gino. Now you have Robles back. Are you telling me that's not enough to get to a lefty starter? Like, I don't care if Canzone's in the lineup or Cole's in the lineup, and they're just fine against lefties. You have four guys right there, or Polanco, though he's not been hitting well against lefties at all. So let's take him out of this. Let's just keep to those four. I don't see any reason why those four guys cannot be good and productive against starting pitchers that throw left-handed. That part doesn't make much sense. But then we saw what happens on Sunday, where it does even out a little bit, and your lineup can get to lefties.
It's not just lefties. It seems to be lefty off-speed and lefty changeups that seems to get this team. They had problems with it last year. They've had problems with it at times this year, and they seem to have problems with it against the A's specifically.
Doesn't make as much sense. It does make it a lot easier, though, when Cal hits 2 home runs.
Well, that was pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
And then
breaking the record how he did. We're going to spend a little bit more time on him later, but breaking the record how he did here on Sunday in a pretty big game was very important. And he fucking crushed those balls too. We're not talking about these little wall scrapers. He hit 2 that probably should have been in the upper deck. His first one was clearly in the upper deck. His second one, he just kind of hit too low. So he gets the moment to know right off the bat he's got those home runs. And now that we're sitting here on August 24th, 5 weeks left in the season, and he's got a real shot at some more records here still. Can I just throw this out? I'll just throw this out at you. Since July 1st, Cal's been hitting his home runs, but in terms of being productive offensively, it's not really been his thing. He's got a solid walk rate. His strikeout rate is really high. Almost half of his hits in this stretch are home runs, and he's barely above a league average hitter. So to see this was very good, because they would be a big help to them hitting those lefties. So if Cal does a little what he did in the first 3 months of the season, he was their entire offense that stretch, and he's shown he could do it this season, and he did a little bit more on Sunday, and hopefully does a little bit more over these last few weeks.
He's essentially had one big series since the All-Star break before this A's weekend, and it was the Rays. In that Rays series, he hit the game-winning home run in the Friday game, and then he hit a home run in the Sunday game. But aside from that, yeah, he's had some ups and downs since the All-Star break. To see what he did on Sunday, however, the record itself we'll get to, but let's also hope this sparks another hot streak where Cal really gets going again, because we know when he gets going, the offense is going.
And when he's not as going, even though there's more guys in the lineup now to offset that, you can kind of feel it. Because when he's off, he's swinging and missing a lot. And what they tried to get out of the lineup this year, or what they felt was deteriorating their offense, is when they'd have guys in scoring position and the guy at the plate would strike out. Now where Cal hits in the middle of the lineup, and he's been striking out a lot more recently, say whoever's leading off, Randy, gets into scoring position, and Cal comes up and he's struggling, he swings and misses, kind of throws a rut in their vision in the offense. And that's not really what you want. So if he's going to make up for it by hitting the amount of home runs he did, that's great. And I think the Mariners are going to be totally okay with that. A little bit more on Cal later, though. I do have one major takeaway from this weekend that I thought, as this game is going on Sunday. This is how it's supposed to look. The lineup, last homestand, the lineup was as good as it possibly could have been. But just this 3-game series itself against the A's was exactly how this Mariners team is supposed to look in the playoffs. And that's why I get a little annoyed when I watch this team on the road and it looks completely different. And they don't look like any semblance of what they did this weekend. We're talking about 7 great innings from Brian Wu, 6 good innings from George Kirby, and 6 good innings from Logan Gilbert, who struck out a career-high 13 guys on Sunday. That is what you're supposed to be able to bring to the table when you're going up against some of the best teams in baseball, and you throw out 3 guys that most other teams in baseball can't throw out at that time. And you overwhelm the A's, and you're just some situational offense away from sweeping the series. You could have almost treated this weekend like a playoff series. You're not playing a playoff opponent, but you're there to win the series. And because you have 3 starters who are better than everyone else, you have a guy that you can put out there and say a decisive game 3, and he goes out there and throws 6 innings, dominates the opposing lineup, gets 25 whiffs and 13 strikeouts. And you're like, who else is going to match that? Someone whispers in my ear, TJ, it's the Phillies. The Phillies can match up. Well, joke's on you. They don't have to play the Phillies to the World Series. And if they make it that far, season's already a win. So you don't have to worry about that. But everyone else they get to match up against in this American League, the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Astros, the Tigers, perhaps the Royals, no one has 3 starters like this. And the Mariners showed what those 3 starters can go out there and do. And I hope they do it on the road more too.
Penny's worth of advice. Win the West. Do not send this team out on the road for a playoff series because we've seen the drastic difference. Just play these games at home, please, and let your starters thrive where they thrive. Because if they go out on the road, you're playing with fire. You play at home, you're going to feel pretty good.
And guess what we get this week, dog? We get Bryce Miller back at home.
Great.
Bryce loves pitching at T-Mobile Park.
To be fair to Bryce, the second half of the year last year when he was on that crazy stretch, he pitched much better on the road. But yes, he thrives in T-Mobile Park, like this whole staff does. So again, win the West. The Astros have everybody injured.
Yeah. Well, and I will say the Astros can still throw out Hunter Brown and Framber in a series. But you know what the difference is? Just line up what the Mariners did this weekend versus what the Astros could throw out. It goes, game 1, it's Brian Wu versus Framber. Game 2, it's George Kirby versus Hunter Brown. Game 3, it's Logan Gilbert versus
Spencer Arrighetti.
Great. Advantage Mariners. Like, this is what you want. Like, this is why this is so important. Like, you have it in front of you. That's why the Phillies series is kind of frustrating. Because you knew this team had it in them, and the Phillies send out their starters, and you have your starters lined up, and you're like, all right, like this is how we win these series, because this is why we develop this kind of starting pitching. And then when it doesn't work out, and it doesn't work out in spectacular fashion, you're really frustrated about it. And then the Mariners come home and show, oh yeah, we can do it. And it's like, all right, do it against teams like that. Big series, win a game, salvage a game when you're playing on the road. You know how you win in the playoffs? Especially if you don't win your division. Well, even if you win your division, you got to win road games. Like, you have to be able to win on the road in the playoffs. And if you can't, then you're probably not winning anything. Anyways, that's my kind of mini rant / takeaway from this homestand. They showed what they could be. They constantly show us, and they're now healthy. And you got Cal with his record. The record monkey's off his back. Great, just go out there and like be better than everyone else, because I know you have the roster for it.
I also don't think Logan Gilbert's starting game 3 of a playoff series. They'd slot that rotation around. Logan would probably pitch the first game or second.
Whatever order we want to shuffle these starters around in, that's fine. Like, whatever order you're going to take 7 from Wu, 6 from Kirby, and 6 from Gilbert, that's fine with me.
Yeah, great. But do it at home. Don't go out and play on the road in a wild card series where you don't get any home games. Yeah. Or, hell, find a way to get one of the top 2 seeds. Again, if you go out on the road, you're playing with fire.
Just a little bit. At least none of these teams in the American League are very good.
No, but what happens when they've gone and played them on the road? Disasters ensued.
Not good things. I did mention on our live show on Saturday, which, by the way, shout out to Corona, shout out to the Hall. Fantastic setup again for a live show there at the Hall in Occidental. For all of you listening that were there, thank you so much for the support. You guys mean the world to us. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the giveaways, enjoyed the food, enjoyed the drinks. It was a fun time as always. We got one more on the docket that we will announce when we officially figure out the date coming up here in September. I did mention that the one team, mostly because they've just kicked the crap out of the Mariners all season, is the Yankees. Even though, Lyle, there's really no reason I should be scared of the Yankees anymore, because honestly, I don't think they're a good baseball team. Like, I've watched enough Anthony Volpe lowlights at this point. We're just, like, kind of hard to take it seriously.
They've got one player that's otherworldly, and the rest of that team screams mid. What else do you want us to say? I guess we should give our credit to Max Fried. He's had a great year. But, yeah, the Yankees are not world beaters. The Yankees are not sitting atop of the American League all high and mighty. This is not your same old Yankees. They're weak. They have weaknesses. Yankees fans have been pissed watching the Yankees over the last few weeks. Just like plenty of Mariners fans have their own gripes about the team when they went out on the road and played badly, just about every fan base in this American League playoff picture has their gripes with their own team. Red Sox have nerves. Yankees certainly have nerves. Astros fans are getting nervous about their own guys. We've certainly had plenty of our own. It's across the board. There is no perfect team in the American League. But
are Tigers fans nervous?
I haven't seen as much discourse from Tigers fans, to be honest. I would
They
assume.
do have Skubal. That helps.
Yeah, but they haven't played great since the second half started either. So
And Riley Green has really struggled.
Just as a whole, they're not. Again, their lead in terms of being the top team in the American League, it's shrunk big time. It was not what it was in the first half of the year. So all of a sudden, you fast forward, and everybody's in the similar bucket where nobody's standing far and away on top of the other. But if you're the Mariners, play to your strengths, please. Find a way to avoid a road series in the wild card round. That's where you can run into problems.
I don't mean to dog on Anthony Volpe, but I guess I'm going to do it anyways. As much as we've been critical of JP's defense at times, I've never seen him make a play that I saw Volpe make this weekend where he goes to his left on a routine grounder and manages to clearly sail the throw probably 10 feet above his first baseman. Routine.
Yeah.
I don't think I've
Terrible.
ever seen that. Awful.
And the Yankees don't have another shortstop to replace him either.
And I don't think there's been any player defended more on the Yankees than Anthony Volpe, which is crazy. It's kind of like, before this weekend, I guess, kind of like Demo.
Except that he's not going anywhere. Again,
No,
he's going to be their shortstop. He's going to be playing shortstop for them in the playoffs. So I don't know. Actually, I do know what their solution is. I was about to say I don't know what their solution is. I do. It's nothing. This is the team they've assembled. They can't go reacquire or acquire anybody else. They're going to run them out there. And if that's your starting shortstop, you're running yourself at a major disadvantage. I would say the team that scares me most is the Royals, and that's mostly because they fought their way back into this. It's not like they're a half a game back of the Mariners. They're 3 games back as we sit and record this. But they were out of it for a long time, and all of a sudden, one good week shot them back into the picture, and the Mariners can't sit so comfortably anymore in the wild card picture because there are teams on their tail, mainly the Royals.
I remember I did raise my eyebrow when they bought at the deadline. They didn't do a huge buy, but they micro bought at the trade deadline, and now they've found themselves back in this race. That is why this expanded playoff for every team, it's the ultimate equalizer. You can be totally out of it for months of the season and not look good at all. Find a little hot streak in August, and all of a sudden, the Royals are within arm's reach of the Mariners. And the Royals look at that series in the middle of September in Kansas City, be like, wow, what if we sweep? What if we play a great series against the Mariners? What if we play like we played against them the last few years in Kansas City? Then we're right back in it. So, why give up at that point? So, I'm actually kind of with you, Lyle, on the Royals. That, and I don't even think they're that good. I remember watching that lineup here in Seattle last month. I think it was last month. And it's not a good lineup. Bobby Witt's been really good this year, has not been as good as he was last year. Maikel Garcia is a stud. Otherwise, it's not something that blows you away, but they've been playing well enough. So, credit to them.
Except they can pitch.
They can.
Lugo, Bubic, Waka. I don't know if they're supposed to get Cole Reagans back this year or not, but they've got a real playoff rotation. So that is a team that if you line up with them, well, you wouldn't line up with them in a playoff series, but if you line up with them in Kansas City where you get the wrong side of that rotation and you get their A guys, yeah, that's a series the Mariners have to win because one bad series against Kansas City could jump them right back into the field. They're already in the field, but they could be taken a lot more seriously if the Mariners do not go out and win that series in Kansas City in a couple weeks.
Especially if, say, you play like crap against the Padres this upcoming series and the Royals, I don't know, sweep. I don't know who the Royals are playing next, but say they sweep that series, and then all of a sudden, people are starting to sweat a little bit, and that you cannot have that. You cannot have that. Put a team between yourself and the Royals, which actually I think will happen. No, actually, no. The Red Sox would need to beat the Yankees tonight, which I don't think is going to happen unless they've blown the lead since we started recording. In which case, there would not be a team between the Mariners and the Royals. But yeah, don't let that happen, please.
You know the Royals are playing this week?
Oh, don't tell me it's the... I have a guess, and I'm scared to say it. The Rockies?
Close, but no.
The only close thing to the Rockies is the White Sox.
Ding, ding, ding. They got the White Sox.
That's not good.
No.
And the Royals went 12-1 against the White Sox last year, which is probably most of the reason they beat the Mariners for a playoff spot.
Yeah. The Mariners this week, by the way, face J.P. Sears, who they've struggled against plenty. Then they face Dylan Cease, who, despite not a strong year, can bring it any given day. And then
should have been a Mariner. No, I'm kidding.
And then on Wednesday, same idea. They face Yu Darvish. Hasn't had a good year, but he can bring it.
Do you have the Frank Yu Darvish clip queued up?
Not close enough to me where I can get it ready for 20 seconds from now to play.
You don't need to play it on the podcast, but I'm thinking. Well, actually, maybe for Wednesday's podcast, because that would be Darvish start day. Look, we can have like the waves of vibes, because we do have an awesome interview for Wednesday's podcast. But at least in the portion with just the two of us, we can get people ready for the vibe check of you facing Yu Darvish in a playoff chase.
Oh, that would be awful. The problem is he's pitching in the finale of this series, so he can't shut him out in game 1 and then come back in relief for game 2.
It's all about the vibe, Lyle.
That's true. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to pull it up in time.
That's fine.
Frank basically starts screaming back in 2022 that the Mets are going to face Yu Darvish in the playoffs, and he says he's going to shut him out in game 1, and here he comes in relief for game 2, Yu Darvish! And he throws like 4 shutout out of the bullpen.
Well, let's think of a way to incorporate that on Wednesday morning. I think that would be good. Before the game. I think it'd be good prep. I do want to tie up a couple of notes on Cal before we get to a real fun story from this weekend that we finally achieved something we wanted to. Want to tell you guys about it. But before that, let's talk about Cal. So he breaks the record. He's got 49 now. It is August 24th. There is 33 games remaining for Cal. How many are we thinking now? 49 with 33 games remaining.
I'm still saying he can break Judge.
So what are we thinking? Maybe a 4-homer series against the Padres, and then he leaves himself within 10 home runs with a month left?
Yeah, or even if he needs 12 in September, that's manageable. He can do that.
Yeah, he needs a nuclear September. None of this is going to happen without him going bonkers in September. And I do remember Judge down the stretch of that season was incredibly hot.
Yeah.
Hot enough where they were cutting away from college football games, which you're going to be doing, right, ESPN? Surely.
Start giving Cal the Goldilocks balls like they did for Aaron Judge.
Yeah, that would be good. What am I going to say? I think I said 55 to 56 earlier. That honestly, maybe I'll go up to 58. I think 58. He's got to like he's been hitting home runs, as we've talked about, but he does need to start making a little bit more contact and give himself a little bit more of a chance. The slash line since July 1st is 185, 281, 452 before his 2 home runs today. Mm-hmm. It's a 105 WRC plus. It's a lot of power, some walk, almost no contact. Like, he does have to make more contact if he's going to get to Judge's record. If he goes to a season slash line and makes contact to hit for a 247 average, then we're talking about stuff that's a lot different. It's not to say he's not going to be valuable. It's if he's going to get to the home run record. He's provided all of his value this season. He's at freaking 49 home runs on August 24th. The value's been given. It's just whether or not he's going to be hot enough to go get that record right now. If you have a prediction, by the way, just drop it in the YouTube comments, send us a DM, comment on our quote cards, whatever works for you, whether or not he's going to get it.
I think he's going to get it because I have belief in this. Why can't Cal get hot down the stretch? He's just had this cold streak for a few weeks where some of this stuff started to level out. Feels like right about the time he could pick it up again and get hot. So if he's going to go nuclear in September, which, by the way, the schedule gets easier. They play some teams that are a lot easier to face between you go to Tampa in that ballpark, you go and face the Braves. You go and face the Braves where he won the home run derby against a rotation that's not very good.
A note about that Tampa ballpark, the Yankees hit 9 home runs in a game at that park.
Yeah.
That's a record, by the way.
You could see Cal hit 4 or 5 in that series. 100%. So he's going to go to Tampa. You go to Atlanta. You're going to go to Houston at some point, which, look, they have two really dominant arms, but park that's easy to hit homers in. There is a world where Cal can absolutely do this. And again, the schedule gets easier. You play the Rockies. We'll see if the Dodgers actually have to try in the final weekend. You're going to play the Cardinals, whose rotation is awful. You're going to play the Angels, whose rotation is not very good. He could actually do this.
You're selling me. It's a long way to go. He would need to break the record in the Dodgers series. I think it would be in that Dodgers series. Unless he hits 10 home runs against the Rockies, which is entirely possible. The challenge for you, Lyle, name a Colorado Rockies starting pitcher.
Isn't Antonio Senzatella still there? Isn't German Marquez still there?
I guess so. Are they?
Good. So you're giving me homework in the middle of the podcast to do after you've quizzed me and say, name a Rockies pitcher. Fine, I'll do it. I'll actually be the one to put in the work, unlike I did every day in high school.
Well, I thought of it in the moment. Here, let me look for you.
I already did.
Yes, Senzatella and Marquez are both in the rotation, yes. And another one of their, former teammates, longtime rotation mate is in there, and Kyle Freeland. Wow, man, he should hit at least 5 home runs against this rotation.
Even Chase Dolander, who know's got crazy upside and was a top 5 pick, he has been awful in his rookie year.
He has a 6.91 ERA. The lowest ERA in the Colorado Rockies rotation is 5.3.
Let's just read these 6 ERAs. I know we're a month away from the Rocky series, but while we're on the topic, this is hilarious. I'm not even going to read the names. I'm just going to read the 6 ERAs among qualified starters this year. 5.31, 7.15, 5.67, 6.91, 7.49, and 8.62. How?
That is for Coors Field. Even that is remarkable.
How are anybody watching those games? How are people watching those games?
There's no way. I'll tell you what. They have a really nice beer garden at Coors Field up on that third deck in right field.
Mm-hmm.
That might be the only reason why people go to the games.
It's insanity.
And the weather's nice.
Anyway, there is a world Cal can absolutely do this. And to spend a second on what he did here on Sunday, he's now absolutely, firmly entered the category of being in the discussion for best season by a catcher ever. The other guys he'd be in competition with, Mike Piazza had a couple years that were absolutely dominant on the Dodgers. Joe Mauer in his, I believe, MVP year in 2009.
Yeah, 09.
Was 09 his MVP year or 2007?
I thought it was 09. Because 09, he had 24 homers. I think he was great defensively that year.
Yep.
That was his only real power season.
Yeah, it was 09. I couldn't remember which year Morneau won it. So Morneau won it in a different year for the Twins. And
Morneau, I think, was 07 or 06.
That would make sense. So anyway, Cal's in the conversation now. He has to be. I understand Mike Piazza had 2 different 1,000 OPS seasons as a catcher, but those guys didn't hit 49 homers. Those guys did not handle a rotation that can be the best in baseball. Mike Piazza was never a great defender. Joe Mauer didn't even have half the home runs that Cal Raleigh is going to end up with at the end of the year because he hit 28 that year. It is absolutely in everybody's right to say this is the best season a catcher has ever had. And if he wins the MVP, yeah, he'll be in that conversation because you mark up Cal Raleigh's 2025 year to Mauer's 09 MVP season. Mauer might end up with the higher OPS. He probably will. Pitching wasn't as good back then. Home runs weren't there. I would take Cal Raleigh. You don't hit 56 or whatever home runs as a catcher from both sides of the plate in the 2025 era with this pitching. Nobody does that, and he's doing it.
And in terms of the best overall catching season period, I believe the only guy he's still chasing is Buster Posey. Because Buster Posey in, I want to say it was 2012 when he won his MVP, had a 10-WAR season. Mm-hmm. That was the year. And we've highlighted this in an earlier episode. That, like, Cal right now, today, sitting here almost at the end of August, is at, I'm going to say he's at like 7.1 or 7.2. Fangraphs wins above replacement, entering tomorrow on Monday, August 25th. to catch Posey from like the WAR perspective, which is all-encompassing, framing, defense, offense, the whole shebang, would need to get up to 10. I don't think Cal's getting 10. He could still get 9. And 9 with 60 home runs, I still think has a pretty good case over Posey, who in that season, I don't even think he had 30. I don't know if did Posey ever hit 30 homers in a season?
No. That year you're referring to, he had 24, assuming you're talking about 2012.
Yes, 2012. Sorry, 2012, he had 9.8 wins above replacement as a catcher.
24 homers. So again, Cal has already doubled the amount of home runs on August 24th that Posey hit in that season.
From an offensive production standpoint, and I'll hold us accountable to this because we use this stat all the time, from a WRC plus perspective, Buster Posey that season had a 164 WRC plus. Cal right now is a 160 after his 2 homers today. So that's where he's looking at. Cal was above that for most of the season. His slump since July 1st has brought that number back down. So the question is, if Cal really heats up, not only will it benefit him from a home run chasing and an RBI perspective, which we don't use RBIs all that much, but Cal really might end up with like 140, which is a shit ton of RBIs. Where that stacks up among catchers all time, especially given they don't play all the time. How is that going to work then against Buster Posey when you take into account all of these other things, like the WRC plus? He's not going to beat him on on-base percentage, but pretty much everything else besides WAR will be in favor of Cal.
Mike Piazza had a 183 WRC plus in 1997. That was his best offensive season. He hit 40 homers that year. So again, he hit 40 total against worse pitching. Cal's got 49 against much better pitching on August the 24th. And despite Piazza having the higher weighted runs created, he didn't catch like Cal catches. Piazza was not a great defensive catcher, so he doesn't hold that same value. That's why his WAR wasn't through the roof that year. And
how many games did he... Sorry, go ahead. You can finish.
How many games did he play that year?
Yeah, I was going to say, how many games did he catch?
That I'll have to look up. He played 152. But he was with the Dodgers, so it must have been most of them because there was no DH.
Oh, there's no DH, yeah. So he did catch 152 times.
Unless he DH'd in the few games that they went to American League parks.
That's a fair point. But still, back then, it was not a lot.
No, and back then, they didn't have a ton of games against American League teams. It was a handful or 2 a year.
Yes, so two or three series.
So I would say he upholds and surpasses Piazza in that way. If you want to compare Mauer, that's fair. Again, Mauer didn't have the homers. His WRC plus was 170, so it's a little higher than where Cal's is at right now. But if Cal gets on this hot streak in September and approaches Aaron Judge's home run record, then you would assume he would get up back to that 170 mark and be right in line with Joe Mauer, who was a phenomenal catcher, like Cal is, didn't hit the home runs that Cal hit, played in a much friendlier ballpark than Cal's playing in, because Mauer did that when it was still the Metrodome. It wasn't outside yet, so he had that advantage too, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think with that all combined, I would take Cal over Mauer. Again, he just didn't have the true... Not that he wasn't a dominant offensive player, he was, but he didn't have that fear factor that Cal has at the plate. Mauer really killed people with a lot of doubles, which, again, is incredibly valuable. There's a reason the guy won the MVP that year, but it wasn't the same fear factor.
Do we want to ramp up the comparisons here? We could go on to switch hitters. He's now only trailing Mickey Mantle, and I think he's going to pass Mickey Mantle this season.
Well, that's the next threshold, isn't it? He passed Salvi. He's passed all the catcher records. Now he's moving on to bigger and better things. And before he'd get to Judge, the next dragon he has to slay is Mickey Mantle, which would be most home runs in a single season by a switch hitter. And you're right. He is
which is
right
52.
There. Mickey Mantle?
Yeah, it's 52.
Let me double check that. I thought it might have been a little
54.
higher.
It's 54.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's right. So he has to get to 55. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Which I can't guarantee things because then it's just going to look terrible on me if he doesn't do it. But it feels like he's going to get to 55 home runs this year. It's nice when he actually gets to these records so we don't have to sit here and theorize it all the time. It's like, all right, now he has the best power season all time from a catcher, one of the best offensive seasons ever by a catcher, and now he's going towards... not catcher records, he's going towards baseball records. Like, switch hitting is hard. There's a reason guys haven't broken Mickey Mantle's record. It is hard to have a swing from both sides of the plate to generate as much power as Cal has done. And that's a credit to Cal, which I think is my last real takeaway from this weekend, Lyle, is that he breaks the record with the swing that was the entire reason he's had this season in the first place. He's always been a good power hitter from the left-hand side. Swinging left-handed, he's always had a ton of power. Right-handed, he is not. There were times early in his career when there would be a lefty on the mound, like Tom Murphy would play, not Cal Raleigh, because they didn't like his swing. Mm-hmm. And now Cal's right-handed swing, entering today, had a 970 OPS. And he crushed 2 home runs. That was a swing that I remember people were telling us, and we talk to people about this. Like, this swing used to be like a contact-oriented swing from the right side. Contact, flat, hit for average, don't walk. That's it. Now he's hitting balls 110 to 115 miles an hour from the right side and crushing them into the upper deck where Nelson Cruz used to, who only hit right-handed. It really is incredible, man, how this dude has developed into the ultimate power hitter. And the other thing I realized this weekend, as if we hadn't realized it already enough, I mean, this dude is very quickly trending towards inner circle Mariner with Griffey, Edgar, Felix. I can't be misremembering inner circle Mariners. Randy, and I know I'm missing one, aren't I?
You're missing 2 because you said Felix, you said Randy, you said Griffey, and you said Edgar.
A-Rod, too.
A-Rod.
Yeah.
There's one more. Are you?
Why am I forgetting this?
Fucking serious?
Why am I forgetting that?
Well, you shouldn't, because he was just.
Oh, and Ichiro.
Good Lord, dude.
I was thinking of the wrong teams, okay? Ichiro spent all of his time on teams that sucked.
Well, what do you mean wrong teams? He just got his number retired.
I was staring at it all weekend. Yes, those ones. And he's going very quickly towards those guys. Very quickly.
Yeah. He might break Griffey's home run record. The only players that have ever had 50 home runs in a season for the Mariners, I say it in plural and I shouldn't. It's one. It's Ken Griffey Jr. who did it twice. Cal Raleigh hits one more home run. He is the only other Mariner to ever have a 50-homer season. Yes, he's entering that inner circle.
Like stampeding towards an inner circle Mariner.
Mm-hmm.
How much changes in 5 months? Like he was team captain and like all first team all like lovable team guy who's very good at baseball in March. And now he's among, I'll say his name first just so I don't forget it. Ichiro, Edgar, Griffey, A-Rod, Randy, Felix.
It's insanity.
That's pretty
He
cool.
went from, we'll use the line we've continued to use all year. He went from being arguably the best catcher in baseball to being one of the best players in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's changed in 5 months. There was an argument at the start of the year. Who's the best catcher? Is it Cal? Is it William Contreras? Is it one or two others? Could it be Will Smith? It's gone from that to one of the best players in baseball. And he's gone from being in conversations with Contreras, Will Smith, etc., to Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Bobby Witt, that group.
That's pretty cool. Shout out to you, Cal. You make our lives a lot cooler and a lot more fun to watch Mariners baseball.
It's been sick.
How about we get to the most fun story for us of the weekend? It had nothing to do with what actually happened while baseball was being played on the diamond. We set ourselves a goal as of about August 1st that we needed to talk to Josh Naylor. And boy, Lyle, did we talk to Josh Naylor finally this weekend.
Well, we talked. I don't know how much talking he did.
Yeah. In summary, Josh Naylor was as expected. And I will say, he was very nice. He had his custom hockey jersey on, which if you haven't seen it, you should go look online. It's on there. It's like a custom Mariners hockey jersey with his number on the back. It has Nails, Naylz, his nickname as the nameplate. It's a dope jersey. It's probably a one of one. And he's just out there kind of like hanging out. He's got his beanie on. And, we flag him down because we want to get him on the mic. We have some things for him. And, yeah, he was nice. He agreed to do it. He said okay. But when it came to, talking and saying more than 2 words. He didn't do it.
Yeah, usually these guys are pretty good about giving us some answers where we can riff with them a little bit and we can go back and forth and have some follow-ups to the things they say, which is what we try to do in interviews to make them more engaging. So it's not just ask question, answer, move on, especially when you're trying to have some fun with it, because the idea is to go back and forth. Well, we haven't posted any of this stuff yet. Eventually, we obviously will. But when we get to posting all this stuff on social media, you guys will see. There's not much for us to go off because he's literally given about 1-word answers, and it's like, well, I don't know what to say next. I don't have a lot to say after that.
It goes like this: question, ask the question, answer, say something funny back, and then Josh says, "Okay." Well, time to move on.
And again, I want to make sure we definitively say this. He was nice. It wasn't a negative interaction. That's not what we're trying to get at. It's just more us telling the story because it very much lives up to the whole aura of Josh Naylor that we've learned about here through the first 3 or 4 weeks of him being in a Mariner uniform. That this whole big grumper narrative, well, from what we experienced, it's real. It's not like he's outwardly an asshole to people. He's not. And people in the clubhouse like him. That's all you've heard that since he's gotten there. He brings the edge. People like being around him. He works hard. But just not a guy with a lot of words. A man of many few words. I guess that's the best way you can put it. And he does it in a way that's not very just outward, I guess.
Expressive.
Yeah, expressive. That's a good way to put it. You want to tell him what went down even before we got on the mic? Because when we're trying to prep them with we're trying to talk about what would be best fitted for him. Because usually with these players, if people are curious, we'll prepare a few things. We try to tee them up for things that they do best with, so we don't put them on the spot too much and give them something that they know nothing about or couldn't answer. So we asked them a couple questions, and TJ says...
Well, first of all, I just want to say that if I want to describe Josh Naylor, it's Canadian nice, but with like the big grumper overtones of that. So it's like they both exist. If you're curious of like what the personality we experienced in the 7 minutes we were with Josh Naylor, that is what it was. Anyways, so we're prepping Josh Naylor. We're like, hey, Josh, like, great, we do stuff on social media. Great. Here's what we got for you. We have a couple ideas for you. Since you're Canadian, it's like, could you name the Canadian baseball home run leaders? Looks at us and he goes, I don't watch baseball. It's like, great. So, Josh Naylor, very good at baseball. Doesn't watch a whole lot of baseball. I don't know what he watches. Maybe he's a big hockey fan. He's wearing the hockey jerseys. He's from Canada, so I would assume he's a semi-decent hockey fan. But he was like pretty blunt and upfront with us, which I appreciate. So we didn't like get him on the mic, and then you're quizzing him on these things, and he just kind of looks at you with a puzzled face, and you're like, it's kind of worse there in that moment where you realize, oh, this just literally is not going to work. Mm-hmm. Like this is a total dud. Let's like cut it. It's good to just cut it before it even starts. But that is what we said, and we're like, oh, so we probably couldn't do the other things either.
Well, we just figured since he's from Canada and the Canadian home run leaders will be mostly the biggest name guys to ever play in Major League Baseball from Canada, he would have some idea. We could give him a couple hints, but nope, straight into the point. I don't watch baseball. Well, that cut about not every idea we had, but a handful of them. And then... TJ...
I was going to say, can I also mention, if you're listening to that and you think, oh, a baseball player doesn't watch baseball, you would be surprised how many baseball players do not watch baseball. I promise. Like, for a decent portion of these guys, like, it's their job. And that's it. It's a job. They're very good at it. They'll work their butt off to be good at it, but at home, it's not like they're turning on MLB Network at all.
Yeah, I would say a lot of them do. I would say most of them do, but it's not like Josh Naylor's the only player that doesn't watch baseball away from the field.
Yeah, that's right. What were you going to say?
Well, then you also asked if you thought he could name 10 pairs of brothers that have ever played in Major League Baseball. It doesn't even have to be with the same team. And you said, do you think you could do something like that? Because that's just naming names, and it's naming people that you've played against. And he goes, I think I could name 2. He goes, me and my brother, and then there was one other pair of brothers.
The Alomars.
Oh, right, because he played in Cleveland. And I was like, well, I think that idea's cut too. We ain't doing that. So we did do a couple of things with them. They will eventually be out on social media. But just know, he very much lives up to the big grumper aura.
Yeah. But you know what? Despite all that, we appreciate him being a Mariner, and the Mariners should extend him as soon as possible.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe we could get him into baseball, Lyle. Well, he'll be around us enough. It's be like, he comes up to us one day and he's like, no, I was actually looking up the brothers. Major League Baseball. I'd like to give that a shot.
Sure. That's great. Yeah, like, don't let us twist this the wrong way. We're Josh Naylor fans. We hope he's here in a Seattle uniform for the next however many years, because they need a first baseman. And he seems to fit this team in this ballpark seamlessly. Sign me up.
Yeah. Let's get to our next subject. This one caught me by surprise. I did not think Vic was going to get activated so soon. I thought it was a given that they were going to wait until September 1st to activate Victor Robles, get him as many at-bats as possible. I don't think he got to 50 down in the minor leagues, unless I'm wrong. I don't think that was 50 at-bats that he got down there. But he gets activated this week, and great to have him back a little sooner than I thought. Or were you were surprised too?
I was, but then when I thought more about it, it makes some sense, because to the very point that we talked about on our most recent podcast, where you were worried about the idea of him getting all these rehab at-bats in the minors, then having his rehab session end, immediately having to serve the suspension, go cold turkey for 10 days, and then come back and having to face big league pitching. So I actually think what the Mariners did here makes some sense, because they're trying to get him a few games against big leaguers, back into the show, reacclimate himself a little bit, and then if he has to take the 10 days off, or if his appeal works and he knocks it down to 7 or 8, it is less of an adjustment when he gets back off the suspension than having not seen any big league pitching in months on end and having to jump right back into it. If I had to guess, there was something there to activating him before the suspension and getting him big league at-bats.
That all makes a lot of sense. Given the transaction of it, and the corresponding transaction was Demo getting DFA'd, I think it's fair to say at this point that the only reason that it feels like that Demo was on the roster as long as he was, I think they might have just been waiting for Vic to get back, because they thought that, hey, we need a right-handed hitting outfielder. That's what we want Demo replaced with, because that's the only thing Demo had left in him. That they were just waiting for Robles to get back, and I guess it worked out. They surprised me with that. They surprised me in twofold, that they were willing to move on from Dylan Moore, which they had given no indication of, and that they were going to activate Robles that soon. But you know what? I'm happy to have Robles back, because he fits this lineup great, and he's something they actually need. He's speedy, he's energetic, makes a ton of contact. The best version of him, as we've seen, is a very good part of this lineup. It can help with their issue of being hot and cold, where sometimes the lineup can get a little home run centric, and that will leave them in cold spouts when they're not hitting home runs. And we know that's not Victor Robles' game at all. He likes to line balls in the gap and run. So that's great. But it did still kind of like surprise me on the two ends of that was exactly what they were waiting for.
Although, didn't they say this was right about the timeline they thought he'd be back before the suspension? They thought they were going to try to bring him back around this week in August.
But then we got the update that it seemed like it was going to take into September for him to be even ready to get back into games at that point. And then we got the update even later that his rehab was progressing so well that he got back into games earlier than expected.
But again, when DePoto was on the Mariners broadcast, no, it was before that. Sorry. It was some media session that DePoto did, or some quote that he gave. He said that the Mariners were targeting to bring Robles back around this very week. So maybe it's not that far off from what their original timeline was. They just changed their course a little bit, where they upped it a couple days in advance to try to get him some big league at-bats before he ends up getting the suspension and having to serve it.
Let me see how many at-bats he got in Tacoma. I'm curious. Because I think this might answer my question on on what he was doing.
Their goal was to ramp him up like it was another spring training and get the necessary at-bats. I know. He had 32 plate appearances in Tacoma.
32. So I think they were a little bit ahead of schedule. I think they were thinking about the suspension in this. It would have been closer to September 1st if they gave him the full 50 plate appearances in Tacoma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
So him getting a few reps against big leaguers before he gets suspended, and hey, hopefully his suspension gets cut in like half, so it works out for him. But he at least gets some of those reps against big leaguers, so he's not totally overwhelmed when he comes back. It's great to have him back. Would you like to say anything as a eulogy as Dylan Moore? I think Dylan Moore's number one fan from 2020 through 2024. We'll say that. 5-year stretch.
Yeah, I would just say two things, similar to what I said on social media. The move was absolutely necessary, and we've highlighted for the last few episodes every reason why. But you can also appreciate what he did over a long period of time here. This was a guy that signed for almost no money when he was drafted. The Mariners gave him a shot in 2019 when they were rebuilding. He'd never really been a big leaguer. He made 3 errors in that second game of the year in 2019. I remember it got highlighted a lot when he had that game. And then he had years where he was incredibly valuable to the team, where he played such a huge role. The Mariners don't get to where they get to in 2022 without everything Dylan Moore did. Crushed lefties, played everywhere. In a year where there were some injuries, he stepped up in a lot of different ways. This was a guy that, for a utility player, held real value as a utility player for a long time. And I don't think people should forget that, while also understanding that here in August of 2025, it was time to just part ways, move on, and put your best roster on the field. So I would say the Mariners made the right move. They needed to move on, and they did. But you can also appreciate everything he did throughout his stretch with the Mariners, because it is hard to find a great, consistent utility player. And for a long time, he was that.
God. Twinged my heart, Lyle.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I can feel the emotion stirring within you.
Maybe I was also just ready to see the plug pulled on this.
Yeah. Lyle had been moved on from Dylan Moore, as of many of us had, for multiple months now. So you had time to prepare your speech, knowing that it was coming, and that the Mariners would be better off in this case.
Yeah.
So with this decision, I do think so. They make the proclamation that, all right, we just needed a right-handed outfielder that we wanted to swap Demo with. What happens, do we think, when Vic gets suspended? Do you think they will do any more shuffling? Because now with Demo gone, as things shuffled out today, we saw late in the game that the backup shortstop is now Cole Young, and the backup third baseman is, get this, Donovan Solano. So that doesn't really sound right. Will they do anything else to address that? Perhaps once Vic gets suspended and they have to use their roster a little bit more effectively.
I think so, because Divish tweeted here on Sunday that he expects another roster move is coming once the Robles suspension goes down. And if you want Divish's exact words on it, he tweeted that, yes, with Demo gone, Dan Wilson said what you just said. Cole Young's at short, Solano's at third as the two backups when they need it. Then Divish also says in the same tweet, I would expect another roster move when Robles has to start serving his suspension and the Mariners have to play a man down. Divish isn't tweeting that out if he doesn't have some level of information behind that. So when he says that, I would expect a roster move is coming. And what that roster move feels like, one, it has to be on the offensive side of the ball, obviously. And number two, only so many guys can get either optioned or DFA'd on the current offensive side of the ball if a roster move were to be made. So what that says to me is they just moved on from Dylan Moore, and they feel like they're pretty close to finally cutting ties with Donovan Solano too. Because if they need a backup third baseman, you've got real options in the minors. It could be any of Ben Williamson, Leo Rivas, or Miles Mastrobuoni. And if I had to pick, I would assume Mastro's going to be the guy because he can also play the outfield in a pinch too. So when Robles starts serving a suspension, I would assume that is who you'll see get called up. You'll see Mastrobuoni for Solano. And then once Victor comes back and the Mariners get an additional spot on the roster, then you could also bring back Rivas or Williamson in addition to already having Mastro and Robles back on the roster.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Donovan Solano at third base does not look right. He also hasn't played third base all season long. So I see him out there. I'm like, what are they doing?
Wait,
Why is he out there?
Has he not played an inning there this year? Not one?
I don't think... hasn't he played a little second base?
Let's look this up. I thought he played third base at some point this year.
He has played it in his career.
No, I know that. I thought he played at some point this year some third base. But hang on, we're going to check. This is the value of sitting and having Baseball Reference as a tool.
Let's see.
Donovan Solano. Yes, okay, I was right. He has played 2 innings at third base this year.
Oh, great. That makes me feel so good.
Well, I knew it wasn't 0. That didn't sound right. I was like, at some point this year, they plugged him in at third base.
In the final 30-plus games of the season, he should not be your third baseman. Once Vic goes on that gets suspended, yeah, I think Mastro should be out. Do you have a preference of Leo or Ben? Because, by the way, Ben continues to keep hitting. He's hit a little bit more here on Sunday. Your options would be Ben, and Ben's only a third baseman. Leo plays all over the place. Mastro plays all over the place and in the outfield. I think Mastro's staying no matter what, because it gives you the option for an extra left-handed outfielder if you so surely need it. But which one of these other guys?
The question here becomes, by the middle of September, of Williamson, Mastroboni, and Rivas, who is the odd man out that's not there? Or who are the 2 that are going to be on the roster? You feel like Mastroboni's a lock, right? Because he's been here all year and can play outfield?
I feel like it's Leo. Given that Leo, when he was up here at the big league level last time, he's kind of in the doghouse. They didn't play him. They kind of treated him like Solano.
I don't really get why either, because he had a 112 OPS plus when he was here, and he's crushing it down in Tacoma. I would say that you are right, that the odd man out is likely to be Leo Rivas because he cannot play the outfield and because he hasn't been in the big leagues since the end of May. So yeah, if I had to guess, you would see Mastroboni get called up when Robles starts serving the suspension, and as the corresponding move, they would DFA Solano because they have to play a man down. Victor will eventually come back, and then the extra guy added in September would be Ben Williamson, and the Mariners at that point would say, hey, he's had enough plate appearances down in Tacoma. We're going to give him another shot. We also would like to have him as a resource and a defensive replacement late in the year.
And you wouldn't need another utility guy because, think of it, you already have 5 outfielders because you have Raleigh who can play in the outfield alongside Robles, Canzone, Julio, and Arozarena. You have your backup shortstop in Mastroboni, backup second baseman in Mastroboni. There would be less of a need for Leo, as opposed to if they act as they have acted all season long and just call up Ben, and Ben's a backup third baseman / infielder if you need it. I think he really would only play at third, and you'd play someone else somewhere else if you had to. I think that would make the most sense. Even though Leo's earned some big league time. He's better than the PCL. He's destroyed the PCL this year. But unfortunately, I don't know where exactly he fits in.
It'll be interesting. I'll be very interested to see what moves they make come September and how they maneuver all of this, or whenever Victor gets the suspension. But you are right. The likelihood is they will go with the guys that they've been familiar with for most of the year. And for the majority of the year, you have seen Ben Williamson and Miles Mastroboni in the big leagues. So logically, best way to put it, it would probably be those 2.
Can we highlight one more thing before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think we should, because it could be who gets added as the extra pitcher in September.
We talked about Emerson Hancock last episode. He had another appearance out of the bullpen, and he hit 99 miles an hour, and he struck out a dude on OKC today on a nasty changeup. I'll just speak for both of us, Lyle. Emerson Hancock for Carlos Vargas.
Yeah, I've had enough of watching him pitch in relief. Even with the big lead today, I mean, he hits the batters, got no feel of the strike zone. Tell me, to you, TJ, and everybody listening to this and watching this, look me in the eye and tell me you did not have thoughts creep into your head when it was 11-3, the bases were loaded. Tell me thoughts didn't creep into your head about a grand slam and this being Mariners Royals all over again from 2022.
Am I a bad fan to admit my TV crashed and I didn't actually watch that inning?
Oh, you turned it off?
Not intentionally. I mean, I was going to keep it on in the background, but my TV did crash.
Oh.
But
What?
in a scenario that you just laid out, yeah.
He's probably not going to be the guy that would be the odd man out anyway for Emerson Hancock.
Because you'd have to DFA him, and God forbid, Lyle.
Hey, the Mariners are on a DFA roll right now.
Yeah, they might DFA 2 infielders in a week.
I was going to say, it might be Demo and then Solano, and you could say they DFA'd Rowdy, who's now OPSing 900 in Texas. That's really fun.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Anyway, I don't know who the move is going to be when Emerson Hancock's ready, but this feels like it's going to happen. The Mariners tried to put some brakes on it and say, we're testing it out. We're going to see what happens. We'll see if he responds well. And yes, him bouncing back well and responding to these outings is going to be a key. But unless he's really getting sore and not feeling right after these outings, how could he not be here in September? You're throwing 99 and wiping people out with that changeup. Given what the back half of the bullpen looks like, give me Emerson Hancock all day long.
And Divish was tweeting as if he felt like he's coming up.
Yeah.
In Divish's words, it's like, yeah, I think they'll see a few more outings and then make a decision. Because, as we mentioned, when he did move to the bullpen in the first time, they didn't move him to the bullpen for him to conserve his innings. I don't think Emerson has an innings limit this year. They moved him to the bullpen to put him in the big league bullpen and have him throw 99 miles an hour to big leaguers, have the fastball that doesn't play as well at 94 play up at 99 and use his changeup in a devastating fashion. I know he hasn't been great this year, but there's a reliever out there who had been historically good with a fastball changeup combination. His name's Devin Williams. I think he had the lowest ERA among all relievers for 4 consecutive seasons combined. It's pretty good.
That's most relievers. They're failed starters. Wade Davis is a great example. Failed starter. Turned reliever. Edwin Diaz, starter that they didn't see enough out of the Mariners, that being in the minors, turned him a reliever, got a $100 million contract. This is what happens. Now, I'm not saying Emerson Hancock's going to quite do that, but, I mean, I hope he does. That'd be awesome if he did, and he turns himself into a wipeout bullpen arm. Hell, you want to use even a more...
I was going to say, if you told him he's making $100 million as a reliever, yeah, I think he'd be a reliever.
Well, hell, let's use even a more recent example than that. Matt Brash, failed starter, dominant reliever.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Emerson Hancock's going to do that, but you see 99 with a changeup that's getting people biting in Tacoma. I can buy all the way in on this. Again, especially given what the other side of the bullpen looks like when you get past Munoz, Brash, Gabe Spire.
Yeah. It's exciting. I love that for him.
Same.
Very exciting.
They could use it. I hope it works. And I would be pretty surprised at this point if he is not here unless he's really not feeling well after some of these outings.
The stuff's there. He doesn't have all of his college stuff, but him as a reliever is as close to his college repertoire as we've ever seen.
Good.
In the big leagues.
Good. And that's our guy. Come out and absolutely dominate, Emerson. Push this team into the playoffs and anchor him in the bullpen down the stretch.
I'm 100% down for that. Because we also, we're rooting for our guy too.
Yeah.
Want him up here at the big league level and want him doing well.
Also, Emerson, your threshold is strike out more than 5 guys per 9 in the bullpen, which is not very hard. And that's the number because that's what Carlos Vargas is currently doing.
I was about to ask you. Wow, what's the reference point of that? Oh, right. Yes.
Dude, how do you throw 100 and strike out 5 per 9?
It's a good question. I don't have an answer for you. If I did, I'd tell you.
I know. Let's go, Emerson. That's all in this show. But good series win for the Mariners. Let's see them take advantage against the Padres. It's a series they're going to need before they go back out on the road on a very long road trip. Hopefully they find a way to grab 2 here this week against the Pods. That just about wraps up this edition of the Marine Layer Podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to listen to the full form podcast, you can do so wherever you get your audio pods. Please make sure to rate and review. Leave it 5 stars. Make sure you're downloading these episodes. It really does help. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button on YouTube. The best way you can support the channel is to go hit subscribe. It really does help. We really do appreciate it. If you want to find all of our stuff and a full one-stop shop for all things Marine Layer Pod, that's all over at our website, marinelayerpod.com. Everything from episodes to our Patreon subscriptions and getting involved with the Patreon side of things. We'd love to have you get involved. Buy your merch. We love seeing merch around the ballpark. Keep going and getting it. It's a perfect time to go get it with the season starting to wind down and us gearing toward the playoffs. You can also find our live show schedules there too. Again, all of our stuff's over at MarineLirePod.com, and then you can check us out all across social media at MarineLirePod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.